Good morning, neighbors. I'm going to put a link below to a 1.5 hour NHK video. It's the 11-year anniversary today of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear accident. And unfortunately, that coincides with a tsunami that devastated the island, that caused the reactor meltdown, 3 reactor meltdowns, and the fuel pools losing cooling for a while. Fukushima, 11 years on. Inside that accident are huge statistics with value and meaning. This is just numbers until you apply math to them to give them meaning. Fukushima should be the largest medical study of the effects of ionizing radiation on a population. That country has a unique ability because of their medical system and medical records that they can see the effects, the impacts, the outcomes from an event such as this across a major population. Their technology they have in data collection about the event. So that video, that half-hour video, touches on so many aspects of the Daiichi accident, the TEPCO Fukushima Daiichi nuclear reactor accident, disaster. So if you can sit through that, and I paced a lot, it's very well done. It's giving you a good update on the status of everything there. But the rest of the story is hours and days of conversations about each aspect of what they discussed. You'll see pictures of massive amounts of water holding tanks full of, what is it, deuterium or tritium? Tritiated water, I think it is. And something caused that tritiated water to happen, to come into existence. It's not a miracle. It is some frickin' science and physics and quantums and measurements and understandings and using decades now of what we have learned about this to make heads or tails of massive amounts of information. So inside that video, they talked about those blue tanks. You can see a photo of them, the acres, the square miles of blue water tanks holding water that's going to be released out into the ocean, that has people justifiably concerned. We have a right to know, period. Period, end. What will happen from this? What are the odds? What are the possibilities? It's not a true or false statement. We already know that. So those blue water tanks, why so many blue water tanks? The initial estimates, initial plans did not count on this much water coming out of the facility and the site, because there were hopes that the ice wall surrounding the basements of those 4 nuclear reactors would work and be able to contain the bulk of water coming into the system. And that didn't happen. The ice wall has had major setbacks in its efficacy. Efficacy. How can an engineer use that word, an atheist engineer? Efficacy. That's whether you should have the shot or not, whether you should have the vaccine or not. That's efficacy, is it? Efficient. So, those tanks are a symptom of a problem with an idea about the ice wall, the containment around the reactors. The water volumes have far exceeded what was expected, period, end. One aspect of that video, that's just one. that could be discussed for a long time. The output of the Alps cleaning system is some highly contaminated radioactive waste. Where's it going? The piles of debris. You'll notice the word interim is used there. That's with a capital I. Interim storage. It is now what America is doing. Interim storage, a 20-year temporary storage of nuclear materials with potential, high potential. So the relationship in a global nuclear world, the détente, the lines we've drawn in the sand to put up with and tolerate this stuff, people do not understand. Instead of the wealth of this knowledge and this energy going back into the system that is America, going back into an education for Americans. I guess if you get educated, you don't want to slice the skin off a chicken for markets. So, Fukushima, that video covers so many aspects. The robots, 11 years on, and we're still experimenting with the robots, not using the robots. "11 years on, we're still developing the robots." The start of a major part of my career was putting robotic work cells into General Motors manufacturing plants in the 1980s. Those robots aren't applicable in this situation, but they were robots. So where's the lessons learned? Where's the response to lessons learned? Chernobyl and our very own 3 Mile Island, and how many other nuclear areas could use a robot or 5? These things are expensive. They take technicians, they take people that understand them, they take programmers, they take software, they take engineering, they take probably some pretty specialty metals to be able to survive or work in that environment, and when they're done, you're going to throw them away. So, very good video. I hope you can take a moment to watch that. It is half an hour long. And to me, it just raised more questions. An item of note inside of there is the citizens' response. And citizens sitting around the table with a whole bunch of papers and data on papers that is valuable data. Should be a little better maintained, maybe better presented, easier to present. It's about radiological data, among other things, on whether to open a town or a city back up. The government is trying to get young people to move back into those areas. Are those young people going to want to have children? Should they have children? Is there efficacy in making them move back? The only way to prove that is with instrumentation and measurement and data, massive amounts of data, and then analytic tools able to present that to you. So, I'll close this up. Watch that video. I wish I could pick that apart. It would be just each of the maybe 7 or 8 topics in there deserve more attention. Deserve more attention from an industry that pays politicians instead of educators, that breeds unrest and dissent and misunderstanding as to the nature of the advice the institutions surrounding us give regarding health care, women's health care, men's health care, good health care, and the data that is derived from health care. You can find another note about a lawsuit in Tokyo where some young people are suing their government, or they're suing TEPCO or somebody for compensation for thyroid damage. Within the TEPCO nuclear accident, Fukushima Daiichi nuclear reactors melting down. the rules for diagnosing thyroid cancer had to be changed because of politics, not because of science, not because of the medical sciences. So the data was diminished. The baseline was changed. The rules were changed in the middle of a disaster to protect something when those people need diagnosis and possibly treatment. And to live in the area, you need to keep your iodine content up, but that doesn't protect you from strontium. There's plants being grown on test plots. Where is the isotope, the elemental level testing on those for something called biological uptake? Meaning, what are those plants going to move up their root system into their leaves that people are going to consume? Biological uptake pathways for carcinogens. It's a well understood science. It takes very detailed, very precise measurements, massive amounts of data, and people actually understanding that, maybe trained in the ability to understand that, so we can collect even more data and invent more cures, the things we can prevent. Friday rant, folks. It was hard to listen to that. It makes me pace a lot. It's like our politics today. It makes me pace. It's like the war in Ukraine. We Vietnam, we learned something. Certainly learned how to blow things up. We learned jungle warfare. Afghanistan, what did we learn? Nuclear accidents in Ukraine. 15 active reactors, I think across 6 or 7 sites. There is 1 or 2 training, teaching, or experimental reactors. As the world turns. Peace is out. Y'all take care.